The Xenomorph, the perfect organism. We have all seen the alien as a big threat to humans and predators, but what other species are out there? In the past, I covered topics about the space jockey, engineers, and various alien strains in different stories. The lore of the predator and alien has expanded within the novels and comic books, introducing new characters and new species. For this video, I want to talk about the Reapers. They were featured in a comic book in 1991. It was published by Dark Horse Comics, and originally, it was in black and white. The story introduces another species known as the Reapers. They were large, muscular, bald, green-skinned humanoids. Their noses were flat, their teeth were bright white, and they had 2 eyes. Reapers were incredibly strong, able to fight off xenomorphs fairly easily. Even without weapons, they were still a big threat. This comic book story was fairly short. The Reapers would hunt the aliens in a hive and were very efficient at hunting them down. They worked mostly as a team and used weapons during these hunts, but they were also not afraid of hand-to-hand combat. You might also notice that the aliens in this story are very large. It's possible this was a result of other Reapers becoming hosts for facehuggers. We also get to see what could be the queen alien in this story, but this one is massive, and its face and body had a new design. By the end of the story, it gives us 2 more important details. The facehuggers were eaten by the Reapers. They were also not affected from the acid blood of the xenomorph in this process. Another important thing in the ending is that facehugger eggs were treated as some type of cuisine. It was also part of their culture, like something you can buy in a market. Since we're on the topic of aliens being hunted by other species, I might as well cover another comic book story. However, even though this one is very short, it's literally a few pages long, I still want to go over it. The title is called Aliens Taste, and it was published by Dark Horse Comics in 1993. The alien lore is expanded upon once again, but in a very different way. The story starts off like this. There's a few alien eggs along with some text. It speaks about how danger is a necessary component of life, and without danger, any life form would simply perish of ennui. This word simply means to be dissatisfied with the lack of excitement. It continues on about how much danger is too much. If you ask 1,000 different people that question, you will get 1,000 different answers. It continues on with this. There is risk in life at any given time, during love, leaving your home, or crossing the street. But others may find that risk exciting as they crave the adrenaline rush in their body. It then shows a giant hand squeezing a facehugger out of its egg sac, and then we see a giant lizard alien species cooking other facehuggers on a frying pan. Despite the story being silly in the end, it does add another species in the alien universe. This short story was collected in 2013 along with Aliens Incubation and Aliens Lucky. Some of you might not like this short story because of the humor in the ending, but let's not forget, this happened to the Predator also. There was one story where a Predator failed in hunting a few humans in a swamp and ended up in someone's soup. So yeah. So that covers 2 different stories about other species within the alien universe. It goes to show that the alien is not the biggest threat out there, at least in the comic book stories.
Who is the Space Jockey? Ever since the first Alien movie in 1979, many have wondered what type of species this was. And with the events happening in Prometheus, we were introduced to the engineers. Now some fans have speculated that at first, an engineer was the space jockey. But near the end of the film Prometheus, we get a scene that is very similar to what was seen in Alien. Although the end of Prometheus did not link directly to the events in Alien, it gave us some clues, and this led to many theories. However, I also want to point out that the size of the space jockey was bigger than an engineer. So unless the engineer went through some kind of mutation process that made him look like the space jockey, it's hard to assume it was the space jockey. Now, the original Alien script by Dan O'Bannon was explained in the Alien portfolio, and it had some changes about the Xenomorph. It went through its normal stages of the egg, facehugger, chestburster, and then when it reached its full adult form, it actually became less harmless. It would lose its urge to kill, and it became an intelligent being, capable of art and architecture, and they would live for around 200 years, a completely different end result of the Xenomorph that was then shown in Alien. Now at some point, their species gets exterminated through a cataclysmic event. the adults get killed off and the remaining eggs lay dormant, waiting for a potential host. Years later, the Space Jockey race comes across this planet full of alien eggs. The Space Jockeys are explorers, and they're heavily fascinated by the archaeology of this temple where the alien eggs are found. One of them gets face-hugged, but as they are unaware of what happens after, they continue their mission of exploration. As a chest burster erupts from the Space Jockey's body, it then grows into an adult alien and goes on to kill others until it is shot and killed. The aliens' acid blood eats through the hull of the ship, and the survivors are stranded. As they are doomed to starve to death, they send out a warning signal. This planet has a dangerous parasite. The survivors cannot be saved, so anyone picking up the signal should not attempt to investigate its source. Later on, this signal gets picked up by the crew aboard the Nostromo. This event takes place in Alien. Now, it's even mentioned in the comic books that the Space Jockeys were an entirely different species from the Engineers, and at some point, they even tried to outlast the Xenomorph species by putting themselves into catatonic suspension. This worked on a molecular level that even preserved one Space Jockey for around 3 billion years. This was done because their race was on the verge of extinction by the aliens at some point. And what about David? Could he have been the Space Jockey? Well, this is another theory that could have a small chance of being true. I went over this topic in another video where I thought that David might get a new body after Alien Covenant. Perhaps a construct body like Walter that could be infected by the black goo pathogen, or a facehugger. This could lead to the Xenomorph acquiring those biomechanical features from something that is more of a machine. Then the only problem with this theory is David's size also does not match up to the size of the Space Jockey in Alien. So hopefully in the next movie we can get the answer to this question. But who do you think the Space Jockey is, considering the information we have now? Do you think it's David, or an engineer mutated by the black goo to look like the Space Jockey? Or do you think Ridley Scott will go back to the original Alien script where the Space Jockey is actually a different species?
The story of the first Alien movie introduced us to a crew aboard the Nostromo. Coming back from a routine mission, their ship picks up a signal from the planet LV-426. Per company orders, the ship has gone off course in search of the signal. When the crew awakens from hypersleep, they expect to be close to home, but they are not. They learn that they are far from their families and loved ones. Not only that, but the ship's AI mainframe brought them to LV-426. It was in the company's best interest to investigate any possible extraterrestrial life forms, and since the Nostromo was nearby, they were chosen for this mission. As the story unfolds, Ash, the science officer, was actually an android sent by the company. He was to watch over the actions of the crew and report back to Weyland-Yutani. When a team was sent out to the planet to uncover the source of the signal, they encountered an alien life form. It infected one of the crew members and would later burst from its chest. The unknown life form was small during birth, but would later grow larger than a human. Ash was secretly ordered to follow Special Order 937, Priority 1, ensure return of organism for analysis. All other considerations secondary. Crew expendable. When Ash tried to attack Ripley, he was subdued by other crew members. His body was then destroyed, and the crew was left on their own. By the end of the story, Ripley was the last remaining survivor of the Nostromo. She then escaped in the emergency shuttle and was left drifting through space. While the story ended here, Ash was mentioned in other sources. There was an audiobook and a novel with the story that took place between the two movies. Alien Out of the Shadows is about a crew aboard the Marion. They come across Ripley's shuttle and wake her up, along with her cat Jones, only for her to find out that aliens are on the planet LV-178 and the mining vessel, which is in orbit. Ripley is taken back to the Narcissus, which is the shuttle she was found in, but when she tries to get information from the shuttle's log, she is locked out from everything. It's later revealed that Ash uploaded his AI consciousness inside the Narcissus. He continues to obey Special Order 937. He later infects the Marion, attempting to acquire more alien specimens, but at the cost of losing human lives. The crew plans to escape in Ripley's shuttle by taking turns in a single hypersleep pod every 6 months. It's the only way to survive before passing away from old age. As the team tries to plan their escape, their efforts are delayed when Ash takes control of everything, but he is finally wiped from the mainframe with a powerful computer virus. Ripley ends up getting injured and placed in a med pod to treat her wounds. She also requests to have her memory wiped of recent events. As a last resort before he was terminated, Ash sabotaged the shuttle's automatic docking release. The only way to close it is from within the Marion. This is when Hoop steps into the Marion to launch Ripley's shuttle into space. When she wakes up, she will not remember what happened. Ripley would continue drifting into space until the events of Aliens, the second movie. But that's not the last time the android Ash was mentioned. During the comic book and novel story of Aliens the Female War, also known as Aliens Earth War, a synthetic clone of Ripley is brought into the story. She learns that Weyland-Yutani knew all along about the alien creature. Kane's helmet had recorded everything. Even when the company denied everything, it was all a lie. The suits they wore had built-in recording devices. The Nostromo's android Ash had dumped the data into the escape pod's computer. This happened long before he attacked Ripley, so Weyland-Yutani already knew what happened. The story of this Ripley took place after the second movie Aliens, but they still had some information of Ash. The rest of the story is related to going back to Acheron, also known as LV-426. I will leave a link to that video if you want to see that story. The character Ash did get mentioned in other sources, but it was minor parts in the script, which did not really impact the story at all. So that covers what happened to Ash after Alien.
The Alien universe is mostly centered around the Xenomorph creature, alongside some Marines or scientists, either working for Weyland-Yutani or some other organization. But there's one human character that is shown in a few stories, and he really stands out from the standard Marine. His name is Herk Mondo. He's a mercenary and says that he is a self-proclaimed professional bug hunter. I think he was first seen in issue number 6 of the story Aliens Colonial Marines. He was on the front cover and also on the inside cover. He does not like authority. He does his own thing, running around shooting aliens. He's all about the big weapons and blasting bugs. He even has xenomorph tongues wrapped around his waist, and a handle for his bladed weapon in the shape of possibly a chest burster. During the story of Aliens Colonial Marines in issue number 6, he shows up, but only for a few frames. He would save Vasquez from an alien as she is pinned behind a box. He pulls out a large weapon and aims, and you can see he has drinks attached underneath it in case he needs a quick sip during combat. So anyways, he would blast the alien and gets a lot of joy out of it. He then apologizes for stealing the alien from the Marine. It's because he has not taken a bug down in months. His name is Herk Mondo. If they ever need a favor, then he owes them big. He is a living legend. There were stories about him in boot camp. They say he took on an entire alien hive by himself. People say he's a psycho because he actually enjoys this kind of work. He would not appear for the rest of the story, but did get 2 separate comic books about him. The first story is called Mondo Pest. It was released in 1994. It starts off with Mondo's ship landing on a planet and stopping an alien to save someone named Nate. The young person would ask Herk for help in finding his uncle, and Herk would accept. He would proceed to hail Colony Ariza, requesting landing instructions, but they open fire upon him and his ship goes down. When he's out of his ship, Herk would meet with Simon Plowright, the colony surveyor, and the colony leader, Dr. Kelly Ann Page. They sent a distress signal, but only he showed up. Perhaps it's because they cannot pay with credits, but they offer him some land if he can help them. Simon would then offer to repair his ship. Then Nate would point out the cave pit where aliens are coming from. They heard a story that Herk broke out of the Marine Psych lockup just to hunt aliens. Herk would go to his ship, pick up a huge bag of weapons, and agree to help. A few of them would go along with Herk and enter the hole. Inside, Dr. Kelly would find some layers of magnesium, which would be a fire hazard. They would find a survivor within, but even he knows there's no point to save him now. A pack of aliens would surround the group, and a battle would start. This is where Herk starts to unload his weapons, firing off many rounds at all the aliens. One alien would sneak up on Herk, pushing him against the wall, but Herk would react fast enough to catch the alien's tongue with just his hand, but the alien would bite his arm off. He screams in pain, but continues to blast the alien. This alien would survive the shots and run off with Herk's hand, but this would not be enough to deter him. Herk would push on. He would find more survivors. One person tells him, "Do it," and Herk would finish them off. Uncle Hank was amongst the people Herk had shot down. They were all doomed anyways. More aliens would show up, and Herk would reload his large weapon and blast his way out. Dr. Page, Nate, and Herk would escape on a vehicle heading back to the base. Simon would refuse to open the door for the risk of compromising the security of the compound. Before he can turn on the missile system, aliens climb over the wall and start attacking. One alien would find Simon and pin him to the floor. Herk would take control of the vehicle he's in and bust through the gate. Aliens are already attacking the people inside. He would pull out his bladed weapon and take down a few aliens. As two more aliens approach him, Herk reaches into the vehicle, grabs his flamethrower. One alien gets burnt, and the others would run away. But during this encounter, Nate was taken by the aliens. When the attack is over, Herk would wrap his knife to his severed left hand, now putting that arm to good use. He plans to go back to the hive. Once inside, he would come across a man-made egg farm, 16 in total, but only one was left. He would get a glimpse of aliens moving around, and Nate was held captive. Herk would try to count how many aliens he took down and how many are left, but he ran out of fingers and loses count. It's not long until the last remaining egg would open, so he rushes in, guns blazing and screaming a bunch of nonsense, firing off his weapon, taking down two aliens, but the facehugger emerges and runs off. He grabs a hold of Nate, and as he turns his back, another alien scratches him. Herk would hold that alien against the wall, and he mentions his severed hand. "What did you do with my hand? Did you eat it? I liked that hand." Herk would then chop off this alien's hand and shove it down his throat. You can tell Herk is missing his left hand as he releases all his anger upon this alien. Herk and Nate would escape the hive and make it back to the compound. They think all the aliens are wiped out. They offer Herk to stay and help, but he refuses because he's not a farmer. Simon would then show up. He's still alive after his encounter with the alien. Herk would grab him and impale his knife into him, telling Simon to reveal his plan. He is the one who brought the alien eggs here. He was the one who sent those people into the hive. They had no chance. Simon was trying to get rid of everyone on the colony. Then he would steal the magnesium. Herk would pull his blade out of Simon's chest and rip out a queen chestburster at the same time, then proceeds to crush it under his boot. After this, he would hop back onto his ship, say goodbye to everyone, and leave the planet. This would be the end of this story, but there is another one we can look at. I think this next story is the last appearance of Herk Mondo. It was released in 1996 with the title of Mondo Heat. So let's continue the story of Herk Mondo. He would arrive at the Gimo Industrial Settlement, which is built on a volcano planet side. The magma within will provide them with valuable minerals. The weather is fairly warm with nice wildlife, but it also has a xenomorph problem. Mondo Pest was called in by a man looking for his daughter, Kayla, and her friend Susie. He wants them found before the Colonial Marines show up to disinfect. His son will take Herk and fly him around searching. As they pass a tower, they can see a flare left behind. Someone is down there. They can see aliens on the tower. Herk would begin firing his weapon, but one alien jumps towards the ship and pulls him down. When he recovers from the fall, he fights back by just kicking the alien. More aliens would then appear, and they chase after Herk. He continues to run up the stairs, gets the door open, and goes inside. He's safe for now. Within this room, he finds Kayla and Susie. They've been hiding here for a while, but now the aliens found them. It's only a matter of time until they break in. The only weapon they have is a pistol, so Herk has to come up with a plan. It looks like he would detach cables from some equipment in the room, then let the women carry the power pack. He's got to work on this fast, as the aliens are starting to break in.
Herk would end up holding this massive weapon. He's ready for the aliens. As they charge towards him, he fires the weapon. It releases a huge energy wave that destroys aliens instantly. The blast would leave a huge hole in the wall for them to exit. They make their way down the stairs, blasting their way through any alien that approaches them. One alien jumps over Herk, aiming at the women behind him. Herk would punch the alien with his left hand. The impact would splatter acid over his left hand. It burns away the flesh to reveal a cybernetic hand. They would try to run for the freight shuttle that's nearby, but more aliens would emerge from underneath, breaking the power cables. His weapon will now have a more limited power source. Herk would jump to the platform below and blast the aliens from underneath. The two women would fall into a pool of liquid down below and run off. The aliens would have their attention on Herk. As he continues destroying aliens with his massive cannon, he would make his way into the facility, then blast the surrounding areas to block the magma vent. The brother Xavier would go check what's wrong. Meanwhile, the two women make their way to the nearby ship, fighting off aliens with the only pistol they have. They board and escape. Inside the facility, Herk would be approached by a queen alien. He tries to fire the cannon, but the fuel is now empty. The only thing he can do is ram the weapon into the queen's face, pushing her over the edge and into the magma below. A rope would drop down to pick up Herk. He holds on and is pulled out of the facility. He boards the ship to see that Kayla and Susie saved him. But the ship soon comes under fire. It's the brother Xavier. He's not only shooting at the aliens, but actually trying to shoot down their ship to get rid of his sister and the others. He reveals that he is the one who brought the alien here. He used them, hoping to get rid of Kayla and anyone else. A swarm of birds would cover his ship, then a rock is thrown towards the pilot seat, causing him to crash. But he is able to make it out on foot, so Kayla lowers her ship. Xavier would start to panic as aliens would get closer to him. He would ask Kayla to open the door to her ship, but she refuses. The aliens would chase down Xavier and overwhelm him. The ship takes off, and she leaves her brother to his fate. Her father is relieved that Kayla and Susie are safe. Just as Herk is about to leave, the Colonial Marines show up, but they're too late. All they can do is mop up what's left behind. And that is the last story of Herk Mondo. This character is kind of similar to Duke Nukem. His stories tend to have more action, some funny lines, and beautiful women. It tends to steer away from the horror aspect, which is what Alien is mostly about, but it was a fun character to learn about and I liked it. I don't think it was mentioned who this Sally person was on his tattoo, unless I missed it somewhere.
One of the mysteries of the alien that's never really been explained is the Temple of Unknown Origin. This was featured in the 1999 video game on the PC, Aliens vs. Predator, which was developed by Rebellion. The opening scene shows Marines running through a temple. They would encounter aliens and open fire. The final sequence of the intro shows the awakening of one more alien. This is the one you control in the campaign. When the level starts, the game tells you, "Our temple has been violated. Eliminate intruders and seal the entrances." In the dark corners nearby, if you activate your alien vision to see in the dark, you will find a few eggs. This room also introduced a carving or mural on the stone wall. If there is a message here, it is a mystery. We have an alien kneeling down on one knee. Looks to be holding something in his hands. Another section has a bunch of images that I can't really make out. Could it be the destruction of a civilization? The last one at the bottom, are those alien spaceships? I wonder if this spaceship was leaving the planet after the Xenomorph infestation got out of control. This image would be seen in other sections of the temple, and whatever message they're trying to say, it was not explained in the game. When you exit the starting point, you go through a tube which is connected to the rest of the temple. But if we back up against the wall and look back where we came from, it looks like a facehugger shrine. This is another example of a mysterious structure or design
that's left inside this alien temple of unknown origin. Who built this and for what reason? A bit further inside the temple, you'll come across a section with a pillar of fire. It's unclear if this fire is used to power anything inside, or who built it. The fire that runs through this area can be cut off in another room. Once you destroy some latches to block off the fire, you can then access the lower area of the temple. There's an area up ahead that reveals you're actually in space. We see some ships circling around the temple. It seems like Weyland-Yutani is very interested in this alien temple, but we're not sure if this temple was already floating in space or if it was taken from a planet. This alien temple has a few sections that were occupied by human forces. You can see there are some developed areas with lights, elevators, and doors that are locked by mechanical devices. There's a lab that is protected by synthetics carrying firearms. It's also shown that Weyland-Yutani is conducting their own experiments with these alien eggs. They captured civilians and placed them in locked rooms with alien eggs, possibly to create more xenomorphs. The end of this level has a giant statue of an adult alien. Many other levels in the Alien campaign are heavily constructed by humans, and it's only the first level that has portions that look like a temple made of stone or something else, with a hidden message. This single alien was very intelligent. It escaped the temple, made its way through human-controlled areas. It massacred every human it found, and even took down 2 predators. The ending shows this alien survived every encounter with humans and predators. It boards the cargo ship to protect the eggs during the long journey to the human homeworld, which is Earth. I checked out various websites and some really old magazines for more information, but I could not find one that has any real answer to this. They just cover what happens during each stage of the Alien campaign, but nothing about the actual story of this unknown alien temple. In August of 1997, the official Sega Saturn magazine had a small section about Aliens vs. Predator coming to that console, but they only had 2 pictures to show from the PC version, even though they were low resolution. There was no footage of the Saturn version shown at E3. All they could show was the PC version. Well, as we all know by now, both the PlayStation and Saturn version were never completed, and later on cancelled entirely. In the same month and year, the magazine PlayStation Plus also had a section about Alien vs. Predator. Early PlayStation code was shown at E3. It was described as a bigger, better version of the AVP game on the Jaguar console from 1994. The PlayStation version looks a whole lot better, with the ability to aim up and down as enemies attack from above and below. This magazine does show a few pictures of the PlayStation version that was never completed. You can see they were trying to bring AVP to different platforms back then, but in the end, only the PC version was completed. The magazine Next Generation from October of 1997 had a section about this game. They mentioned the AVP game on the Jaguar console is back, rebuilt and looking great. Further down below, they say this game is completely rebuilt, and that no code from the Jaguar game was used here. This new AVP game was supposed to be a complete 3D world. They were considering to support PlayStation's Link cable, which is a way to connect 2 consoles together to play multiplayer games on separate consoles and displays. I read on one website the PlayStation version was cancelled because the AVP engine was not compatible on that platform. Even during the versions that were planned for the PlayStation and Sega Saturn, they did not mention this alien temple of unknown origin, or maybe I did not find it. Most of the information I found was just about the gameplay of 3 species. But was this alien temple originally floating in space? Or did they remove the temple from a planet? Either way, Weyland-Yutani got a hold of it, so the origin of this alien temple remains a mystery. And if you want to know the name of the Marine in this game, I think his name is only revealed on his body armor, which is shown during the intro cutscene. I think it reads out the name Anderson. During the time of the Vikings, when they ruled the land for ages, when their rage and strength was unmatched by anyone who challenged them, they stood as the fiercest warriors for many ages, until they they fought an enemy unknown to them. This is the story of Aliens Stalker, but most of us would see it as Alien versus Vikings. Released in 1998 and published by Dark Horse Comics, the story pits the Vikings against an alien. Will they prevail, or will the alien destroy the last remnants of the Viking lineage? Before we get started, make sure you leave a like on the video. The story begins with a group of Vikings searching for this beast, which they call the Crawler or the Slayer. They are fully aware of its existence, but all they find are bodies of the deceased. This occurred some time ago, so they continue their search. Upon discovering a fresh trail, they learn the creature has taken to the water. Ranulf, the Wraith Stalker, releases his ravens and follows them, thinking they will lead him to the beast they seek. A little backstory of Ranulf is explained within. He was the apprentice of Grimulf, the first Wraith Stalker. They ask if he shares the same skills of his departed master. He responds with, "I've not yet bloodied my sword, but I've made the sacrifices." Lady Alwyn and her brother escape the attack on the uplands. They are from the line of Drogo. He was an ancient king that fought the first Crawler, but the creature was not defeated, and now they believe it returns every 50 years to lay ruin to his descendants. There's a few notes left behind from Drogo the Berserker. He recounts the memories of his encounter with the Crawler. "I go now to the dark lands to face the Black Slayer. It will hunt me with its sightless eyes and rend my bones with its butcher talons. I will meet the Slayer's onslaught, lost in the red fury of a berserker rage. I see before me the dead piled like cordwood. I am lost to the red madness, and froth spews from my lips. I go to perish in the demon's maw." It's revealed that a deal has been made. It says this: "The lady has come to me with a proposal. If I will lead my warriors against the beast, she will agree to be my consort. My Viking's cut will be a share of her lands. It is all she has left to offer. She wants everyone to be free of this curse upon the land. The Crawler must be slayed." Someone brings up the prophecy that has slipped the minds of most men. It says that no mortal man can defeat the Crawler. Despite this, Ranulf agrees to join their group. They cross the waters and follow the ravens, which leads them to an unfamiliar island. With sword and shield in hand, the warriors make their way forward. Ranulf says they found the Crawler's lair. It's the smell of its stench that he picked up. As they explore this strange new land, they notice it's been twisted. It looks like the bowels of the underworld. The Crawler is a demon spawned from the loins of Hell herself, and very soon they are attacked. The Crawler is picking them off one by one. Ranulf comes up with a plan. He creates a fire in the center. He was told by Grimulf the fire keeps the creature at bay. It fears the flames. As they close in with their torches, they surround the creature. Thorfinn steps in to deliver the fatal blow, but the acid blood melts away at his helmet, and the Crawler fights back. Most of the men are defeated fairly quickly, but just then, Brodir tackles the Crawler and is pulled down into its lair. With Thorfinn blinded and most of his men defeated, Odo's cowardly men have come out of hiding, but it is Ranulf who ventures alone into the lair of the beast. Down below he finds the tomb of old Drogo. The creature has infested the very grave of its age-old enemy. As Ranulf battles the beast in the tunnels, Odo's men come up with a plan. Since their men outnumber what remains of Thorfinn's forces, they no longer need him, and he is eliminated in his blind state. The remaining men that followed Thorfinn are now enslaved by Odo's men. They gather the treasure found in Drogo's tomb and cast away from the island. In the distance, they see Ranulf running towards them, but just out of reach. Just then, the Crawler finds its way onto the boat and attacks the men. Ranulf could have been trying to warn them, but it was too late. Odo had sworn to protect his sister, but it seems his words were merely empty promises. He tries to flee from the Crawler, but is eliminated. When Lady Alwyn is covered in the blood of fallen warriors, she goes into a state of red rage and grabs a weapon. This could be the berserker rage that Drogo had experienced when he first fought the Crawler long ago. Ranulf comes to help Lady Alwyn, but his weapon is destroyed when he attacks the creature, but he uses the hilt to continue his attack. Because they believe in the prophecy that no man can defeat the Crawler, it is Lady Alwyn, a mortal woman, who strikes this deadly blow, and together they take down the Crawler. But as the ship sinks from the acid blood, Lady Alwyn begins to swim away from the sinking ship. Ranulf cannot leave yet. He has one thing left to do. He retrieves his broken blade, and the timeline now skips into the distant future. Grimulf's hilt was reforged with a new blade. From that time to now, every Stalker has carried the Master's blade. A descendant of Ranulf is seen telling the story of his blade to his team. He even shares a similar name to Ranulf. We can see two members holding a smart gun and pulse rifle in the background. Despite this being the long version of the story, his team members don't believe the story of his blade. It closes out by them going off to fight aliens in their time. It seems like this descendant of Ranulf is destined to fight the Crawlers. The end. The story of Aliens Advent, Terminus, was released in 1990. It's about a group of people that traveled to a planet that had multiple pyramids, each one yielding precious gems, metals, alloys, or tablets, along with other artifacts of a long-extinct race, but they also reported finding alien eggs. Several teams have already gone missing, and there's no telling which site claimed their lives. For all they know, it could have been this one. We then meet the crew. The man with the sunglasses and hat is Wellington Frick, a wealthy person who is funding this expedition. Then we have the android Bell, who served as the secretary. Emil Zorn is a hired gun. During his past, he survived a chestburster. He is now about 15% human. The rest of him was fitted with an artificial torso. During this event, he demanded his undamaged limbs to be replaced as well. The last person of this team is the one filming this entire venture, Posada. This story could get them at least $60,000. Zorn starts to think that this pyramid has nothing of value inside, but Wellington has a feeling that this one might be a good one. There's a current theory about this pyramid. Structures such as this one represent a spiritual focal point for communion with the sacred. Of course, that theory is grounded in human experience. They find some inscriptions around a doorway. The meaning might say this: sacred is the sleep of the ages, and safe within the second womb. They head down a set of stairs and come across a seal that's been broken, and inside they find a marvelous tomb. You can also see some alien eggs, and aliens are in the back. Zorn would shine a light into the darkness, which uncovers 3 bodies. He thinks it was the last expedition team. He also says there should be 3 adult aliens in here somewhere. Zorn would cover them as Wellington gets close to search their bags, while Posada would get a close-up and record everything. Bell would say this tomb was built by a different race that was not the same race as the eggs. She would walk behind an area that's covered in darkness. She says this entire structure bears a remarkable resemblance to something else, but she's interrupted by an alien and it attacks her. Zorn would start firing his weapon, taking down 1 alien, as 2 others would still be around. The 3 of them get to a door and close it behind them. Posada would suggest they should retreat, but Zorn and Wellington are here for treasure and to record footage of Zorn taking down aliens. Wellington did consider going back to the ship, but the footage he has so far is not enough. There's very little chance he would be able to sell it to any network, so the 3 of them take their chances and go back inside. They shine their lights around the dark room. For now, there's no movement on the tracker, so they get a bit closer. Zorn would pick up 2 signals. The aliens are flanking them. He tells Posada to get everything on film and in frame. 1 alien gets shot down. as another one gets behind him, jumping on Zorn, and impales him with the tail. Wellington would come across an alien egg that opens up. The facehugger jumps towards him, but he throws it away. He was thinking of leaving, but he has to get more footage of what's happening. Zorn would rip the alien's throat, and the acid sprays over his body and melting his face. This wasn't the ending he was trying to get, but he knows the networks will pay top dollar for it. The greater the shock value, the more money he could get. Wellington would try to run away and leave Posada behind. He cares more about himself than his team. He knew Zorn was not going to make it, and just used him to get the footage he needed. Posada would catch up to him and smack him over the head with her camera, which knocks him out. She takes the memory chip from the camera and continues to run away. When Wellington awakens, he knows Posada won't escape, as the ship's controls are keyed to his thumbprints. He's then attacked by a facehugger, which most likely takes his life. Posada would then be seen climbing up a ladder into the ship, but is met by an alien. It holds onto her and attacks her. Another ship is seen coming in and landing. They see they are not the first ones here. This pyramid has not been charted yet, so they plan to explore it also, which will most likely lead to more encounters with aliens. This comic book story featured a planet that had multiple pyramids. Each one held different secrets of the past, like gems, metals, alloys, or tablets. But one pyramid they found had alien eggs. This is also an idea that Dan O'Bannon wrote for his original Alien story. They would pick up a transmission in an alien language. It's originating from a nearby storm-shrouded planet. Upon landing on the planet, they would locate a wrecked alien spaceship. It's abandoned with no signs of life. Within the ship, there are clues that lead them across the planet's surface. The crew then finds a primitive stone pyramid, and inside are alien spores and eggs. The idea of spores was later used in Alien Covenant. It's how the Xenomorphs were created in this movie. There are many stories about the Xenomorph, things like its origin, biology, behavior, social structure, and intelligence, and I have covered many topics around the alien before. In this video, I want to cover two stories that are connected. The first one is called Aliens Once in a Lifetime, which was released around February of 1999. The other one is Aliens Apocalypse, The Destroying Angels, which was released from January to May of 1999. This one is shown in black and white. It's a bit short, but it has connections to the story of the next comic book. It also has a section where they go into the alien morphology, so I'll go into this one first. This one is in full color, and it's a long story, but there's a few things that make it stand out. It details that xenomorphs have been around longer than we thought, and they were on different planets. The space jockey is mentioned, and we see a new type of alien. Now let's begin with the first comic book story. Dr. Natasha Foe is meeting with someone named Casper Tellurian, who is affiliated with the Goholgood Institute. They've been following her research for Weyland-Yutani for some time. She was recommended for the Turgo Myers project, Linguaphoda acarensis. It's about the aliens. They're in possession of a remarkable find, a rich, vital environment that the creatures thrive, but one never exposed to humans until now. This gives Dr. Foe a chance to test her theories on the aliens' morphology. Mr. Tellurian has read her papers on the subject. The opportunity she's always dreamed of has finally showed up. But Turgo Myers is a barren planet, a lifeless chunk of volcanic rock. Either way, she accepts the mission. A dropship will take her to the region known as Wells Church. There's going to be a trail of markers that guide her along the only accessible entryway to the site. From there, she'll be greeted by an acquaintance named Dr. Kira Nix. She's an Animal League specialist and a close associate of Mr. Tellurian. When Dr. Foe meets Kira Nix, she tries to be social with her about their line of work and connection to Mr. Tellurian, but Kira avoids the questions and tries to focus on their objective. They need to locate their quarry, gather all data then contact the dropship for departure. After this, Mr. Tellurian's people will do the rest. As they venture forward, it's not long until Kira picks up on something. She pulls out her weapon and fires a few shots into the vegetation. The image that runs off is an alien. Dr. Fo inspects the blood drops from the alien and is surprised by what she sees. The blood has not corroded any of the plant life. They can adapt. Bioimperatives meant for protection or ensuring survival, like acid blood, are not genetic constants. She would compare this to the moon jellies on Palau, which adapted to enclosed nitrogen-rich lakes. Their defense mechanism, which were stinging tentacles, had withered away. They lived off internal algae. Dr. Fo thinks this goes beyond adaptation. The aliens secluded here may be representative of an archetypal state, but first, they need to find the hive to gather more research. The other mystery is why Kira, who is supposed to be a scientist, is also carrying a military weapon. As they continue up the trail, Dr. Fo would lose her balance and fall. She survives, but finds herself in a bad situation. The hive they were looking for, well, she found it. She remembers that ants communicate with airborne pheromones. Could aliens do the same to warn of predators? But something is affecting the aliens. She's not sure what it is, and just then, a weapon is fired in her direction, hitting an alien. A group of armed men show up. The aliens focus their attention on them, and a battle commences. Dr. Fo tries to run off, but is tripped by Kira. She then realizes that she was set up from the start. The company used her. It all makes sense now. Kira having a weapon, even though she was said to be a scientist, she's also familiar with the terrain. This was not the first expedition. Kira was here before. Kira says she was already here, but this was the first human expedition. Nobody knew about these creatures before Dr. Fo showed up. They need to leave, but first, Kira has to pick up another passenger. When Dr. Fo returns, she speaks to Tellurian. She found a monitoring device sewn into her pack. She asks him, what experiments are they doing out there? What are they hiding? But he remains silent, and Dr. Fo walks away. After she leaves, Tellurian calls to another person named Pratika to come out of hiding. Even though she's a loose end to the company, they still achieved their goal. Dr. Fo confirmed their suspicions. They can now proceed with the Mandala Directive. Dr. Fo will be of service to them, much as another person named Alecto Throop. Later on, Dr. Fo figures out why she was left alive, and knowing the company has secrets. There's more to learn, and they need her. She thinks the alien could be more than adaptive. They might be able to rewrite their programming to learn from experience. She also thinks that these creatures are older than the stars. They are perceptive, adaptable, excellent pupils when they have the right teacher. The rest of the story is continued in Aliens Apocalypse, The Destroying Angels, which is a pretty long comic book, but it has a deep look into the history of the Xenomorph and the Space Jockey. This next story starts off with a few men within some type of ship or facility. They gathered all the alien eggs they could find and secured them within a hold. A group of men leave the area, but one of them stays behind. Mr. Rhodes has a chest burster inside him, and it's not long until it emerges. He would be a danger to the others if he joined them. Shortly after they leave, Mr. Rhodes goes through that painful experience, and the alien scurries away. The story shifts over to Alecto Throop, meeting with Mr. Tellurian and his great owl Wicked. This is only a brief meeting, as they recount their previous meeting at the Gaholgood Institute, where she met other associates of Tellurian, like Dr. Emil Factor, Dr. Burroughs, and Pratika. The rescue mission that Throop operates was hand-picked by these members in front of her. They focus purely on scientific research, unlike other corporations that are mainly out for profit. She's told that the Gaholgood is a scientific venture existing in the shadows of the conglomerates. A picture of a man is shown to her. This man is Dr. Lucian Catel. He is a founding member of the Gaholgood. He is a seeker, a man with a vision to reshape our world. Dr. Catel had connections with Wayland Yutani up to a point where he could access classified files. which he shared with the Goholgud Institute. That's where he discovered the data about the Nostromo starship, and when they encountered a space-faring craft of non-terrestrial origin, this was located on a body in the Zeta 2 Reticuli system. Now, the conglomerates are all over that sector, but their motives are small. Dr. Catel saw a bigger picture. Armed with his resources, the Goholgud went on its own astronomical search. About 5 years ago, his team discovered an object orbiting a planet in the Shamblo system. Its broadband spectrum matched that of the Weyland-Yutani derelict perfectly. We found our own mystery ship. 1 year later, Dr. Catel set up a team to investigate. The ship they took was called the Savannah, a prototype with a particle drive, and the technology to bend space instantaneous belongs to them. At first, the expedition was successful beyond all expectations. Catel would regularly send reports detailing their analysis of the ancient fossilized crew of the ship. It was unbelievable. But then, about a year and a half ago, the reports grew erratic and eventually, Catel would stop sending in reports. Diagnostics show that no equipment malfunctioned. Life support scans registered no disruptions, yet communications have stopped entirely. Dr. Catel's team does not respond anymore. Something is wrong. They want Dr. Catel, his team, and the research brought back. This is where Electo Throop comes in. When Tellurian is talking to Miss Throop earlier, he says to her that there is more to this story that she needs to know. The reason Dr. Catel left for the stars was the expedition's hidden motive. There was a paleontological dig in Australia around 26 years ago. This team was funded by the Goholgud. They discovered a strata of shale that predated by 1 billion years, the oldest previously known formations. It was etched with unnervingly abundant traces of life. His last message to her is to learn to look past the surface. Dr. Catel is a great man, but great men are often unpredictable, and greatness is always achieved through great sacrifice. We then meet Captain Mutombo, who commands the ship called the Rachel. Other members are Baal, Arch, Cain, Deimos, Corfu, and Jellicoe. The ship may not look advanced, but that's because they don't want to draw attention to it. When Throop returns to her room, she finds a delivery sent to her. A letter is attached. It's from Tellurian, just giving her advice, along with sending his bird Wicket to help her. They come across a Weyland-Yutani mining operation and try to quietly pass by, but Mutombo is able to locate a planted spy amongst the crew. He says, at close range, shortwave conglomerate broadcasts tend to feed back on their reprogrammed hunter-seeker androids. The ship activates the particle shift. Then sometime later, they reach the massive ship they were searching for. A team suits up and prepares to board. They would enter the massive ship, and darkness fills the room. They notice the airlock installation still functions, but there's no sign of life. As they explore around, they come across a giant being, similar to the one we saw on LV-426 within the derelict spacecraft. Meanwhile, their scanning system still shows no signs of the Savannah ship that Dr. Catel used. The atmospherics seem to check out okay, and Catel's life supports are still up, so the team can decompress and remove their helmets. Some campsite will be found nearby, but it seems abandoned. Corfu looks around the area to find a skeleton. Then some liquid drops near his location. He shines his light behind him to see a large alien. Electo and a few others would find some type of machinery, which looks like a relay complex. This device is meant to bounce a signal from another location. She thinks there's some deception going on here. Perhaps Dr. Catel and his team are long gone. Suddenly, they hear a scream behind them. It's Corfu. The team runs in the direction of a scream, but as they arrive, they find that it might be too late. She starts looking around, knowing something is out there waiting. She recalls what Tellurian told her. He was trying to warn her. He knew what was down here. An alien would appear. The synthetic ball pushes Throop away, giving her a chance to run. She climbs over the large being, only to see a pack of alien eggs. The alien pursues her. Throop makes it outside the dock, but the alien catches up to her and closing in. Ball would show up again to save her, but is attacked by the alien again, but this time he is ripped in half. Throop makes it inside, but still wants to go outside to retrieve Ball, to find out what he knows. She goes out to grab his head, but the alien appears above the doorway. She jumps in just as the alien tries to grab her. Mutombo detaches their ship from the giant spacecraft and starts to leave, just as Throop walks in saying she still has an associate back there. Ball tells them Corfu is no longer alive. He thinks Corfu has become some sort of food source. He claims he saw it. Throop would later get the owl Wicket that was sent to her by Tellurian and explains to everyone why she has the owl. Tellurian thinks that if she studies the owl hard enough, it will somehow help with the mission. She spent a lot of time going through the files that Tellurian had sent her. There's a lot to go through, but from what she read, there's a whole lot more to the mission than they were told, and it revolves around Dr. Catel. It turns out that the Goholgud Institute learned of the existence of this alien species through the Weyland-Yutani files lifted by Catel. The conglomerate also discovered these things within the derelict that was in the Zeta-2 Reticuli system, but they probably did not have much information on them. The files also indicate Tellurian suspected that Catel had a secret agenda behind his expedition. Catel had a crazy theory about these creatures, that they invaded Earth billions of years ago, exterminating all life on the planet. This was based on some questionable evidence from an Australian dig, which was matched with some descriptions of the Weyland-Yutani derelict's creatures. It seems like they wiped out the crew on that ancient ship, and the same thing occurred here on this ship that they found. Wicket would then fly away from Throop and sit on top of a container. There's something inside. They don't know what's in here, so they use an X-ray device and look inside, and what they see is an alien egg. The same ones that Throop saw on the ship they were just on. She saw a whole nest of them. Mutombo runs the serial number again to find it was a gift from Weyland-Yutani. Throop tells him that once he looks at the files about these creatures, this cargo was loaded by Deimos and should be jettisoned into the void of space as soon as possible. Mr. Massey would later get a fix on Dr. Catel's position. It's way out there, past the Daxon Ray cluster. They were also able to salvage Ball's head and reattach it to the body of Deimos, but he makes them aware that his new body might have sleeper directives in place, which could make him turn on them, so he should be monitored closely. They track the ID signal of the Savannah ship to a foreign planet. It lands, and a team is assembled and sent out. It's not long until they come across a big hole, which is said to be a construct. The signal of the Savannah is somewhere down below. In the lower sections, they locate the ship, but also come across more aliens. They try to use their firearms, but it seems like the rifles are not enough to stop them. They would be rescued by Dr. Catel himself. He sprays them with a gas and they pass out, which is later explained to be a vaccine. It was refined by Dr. Catel by using the DNA of Dr. Rhodes, the man we saw at the start of the story with a chest burster in his body. The aliens here are called angels, but another name is Linguaphoda acaronsis, which means foul tongue from Acheron. They spray the vaccine on themselves, which makes the aliens avoid any contact with them. But something seems to have gotten their attention, as rumbling occurs around them. It's their ship, coming down the pit to land. The aliens can sense something aboard. It must be the egg that was planted on the ship by Deimos. Throop would enter the ship as the doors open. They pick up the owl Wicket and form a plan on who goes back for Dr. Catel and who stays on the ship. Mutombo was also taken by the aliens, but it might be too late for him. Dr. Catel would give them a tour of the necropolis. What led them to this planet was the crew of the derelict. They left behind a detailed description of their journey. Dr. Nelligan, a linguistic expert, was able to crack some of it, enough to reprogram the Savannah's rudder and bring them to this location. It was one of perhaps thousands of worlds these mysterious giants colonized. This is the part where Dr. Catel explains the research he found. There was a paleontological expedition that discovered advanced life in a rock, around 3.2 billion years old. This predates all accepted timelines for complex life on Earth. This did not fit in the pre-existing notions and was buried within the Gohogud bureaucracy. When he saw the descriptions of the alien creature on Acheron, he was able to make over 100 comparisons between those aliens and the ones within the fossils. They were essentially the same creature. Around 3.2 billion years ago, Linguophoda exterminated all life on Earth, as well as on the Acheron derelict and any other place where they flourish. They were a universal wave of extinction. He sees this as the wrath of God. This prediction might be a little far-fetched, but he has yet to show us something else that will truly challenge their concept of time. Back on their ship, one of Cato's followers, Mr. Sten, is able to get on board as Ball opens the bay doors for him. Mr. Massey tells Ball that none of those people were to board until Throop came back. He thinks they're all crazy with their talk about giants and angels, so he grabs a gun and searches for Mr. Sten. He runs into Mr. Sten down a hall and gets knocked out. Mr. Sten would take the firearm and command Ball to lead him to the alien eggs on the ship. He opens the container and willingly becomes a host. But Mr. Massey shows up and shoots him down. The facehugger runs towards him and leaps on his face. Mr. Massey calls out for Ball to help him, but Ball does nothing. He just watches as the facehugger overcomes Mr. Massey. Dr. Cato would show Throop another discovery. All the giants in this sealed chamber were placed in some form of catatonic suspension, which might occur on a molecular level. He believes their race was on the verge of extermination by the alien creatures. The giants resorted to this, which is an attempt to hibernate and outlast their destroyers. But time has affected all of them except this one. It's the only one left alive, and he has yet to outlast the angels. He's intrigued by the science that has kept a being alive for over 3 billion years. The aliens that eradicated this race long ago were all gone. Their eggs did not fare well over the ages on this planet. The aliens that appear on this planet were brought here by Dr. Cato. Throop would ask him, "Where are your men?" And he tells her she already met them. Their souls were granted eternal life within the form of the destroying angels. They willingly gave up their lives, allowing the angels to birth, which gave him the opportunity to study the living organism. Their sacrifice served the angels and science. Tension between them starts to escalate. Dr. Cato thinks the others do not understand his motives, so he attacks Throop and runs away. She would later gather the files left behind by Dr. Cato and transfer all of it to their ship's database, then find a way to escape. Even if that means they don't bring back Dr. Cato, the company might be more interested in his research. Then we see Ball, who is possibly under the control of Weyland-Yutani by now. He takes an alien egg, leaves the ship, and plants it in front of the last living giant. As the others try to make their way back to the ship, Jellicoe gets taken by an alien. Then Arch gets attacked by another alien as she protects Throop. Then Dr. Cato returns to save them and asks her if their ship had carried eggs of the Linguophoda acheronsis. And yes, it did. Dr. Cato found an alien egg near the giant. The one experiment he never dared to try, someone else did. They conclude it must have been Ball, as he might be overtaken by Deimos' programming. Dr. Cato has a change of heart during this point, now realizing that Weyland-Yutani has sabotaged his work, and they conducted another senseless experiment on a Linguophoda. He is predicting the great cosmic cycle of extinction will arrive soon again. He wants Miss Throop to take his research back to Earth and convince them that the angels have returned. 1.5 billion years ago, the giants who built this city grew into a space-faring race. For a time, they dominated our galaxy. Then the angels appeared and restored balance. Now the cycle has come full around. The angels' exterminating fury extended as far as to the planet Earth. Homo sapiens are the space-faring race, and the angels have begun to take note. One day, too soon for our race, a tripwire will be struck, a critical point will be reached, and these superbly adaptable engines of destruction will sweep like a cleansing tidal wave over all creation. Later on, Dr. Cato makes a deal with Throop. If she sends her synthetic back to the ship, he will take her to where her friends are being held within the hive. But if she does not return in 2 hours, the ship can take off without her. As Throop is brought into the hive by Cato, they do find Mutombo and Jellicoe, but they cannot get any closer as some aliens have followed them. Then, they feel vibrations in the ground and all around them. The last surviving giant could not escape the angels. A new alien smashes through the walls, but this one is massive, extremely large. This new alien shows to be disconnected from the others as it attacks them, and the other aliens seem to not accept it into their group, and then a battle between them occurs. Throop is able to rescue Jellicoe and help her walk away, but Mutombo is already doomed. It's too late for him. As the two of them get out, Cato chooses to remain behind to share the same fate of his men. His last words to her are to not trust the Goholgud, tell the people what he discovered. As Throop and Jellicoe make it to the landing bay doors, it opens, but another alien leaps down towards them. Their escape seems to be blocked, but then a large alien hand reaches in to grab it and pulls it out. The ship takes off and the structure continues to crumble. As the ship heads back home, Throop wonders what should be done with Dr. Cato's research. If she brings it back to the Goholgud, it all gets buried, and more incidents of alien confrontation crop up and get buried as well. They would keep this secret to themselves. She starts to believe Cato, just a bit, about his angels and his theory on extinctions. Crazy or not, he did glimpse a bigger picture. He may have been a monster, but he may have done what was necessary. And that is the end of the story, Aliens Apocalypse, The Destroying Angels. Some elements of this story could be similar to the movie Prometheus, where they both find a map which leads them to meet these giant lifeforms. Both stories include a character that is willing to sacrifice human lives to study the alien creature.